Welcome back to the Breakfast Show 2. This morning we have with us Sharon Anderson from the Cape Girardeau Public Library, and November is National American Indian Heritage Month. So you brought some books to highlight that month and to honor that month. So let's start with the children's book. What do you have for us?
I have a fantastic book that's called Indian No More, and it's written by Charlene Willing McManus. It was started by Charlene Willing McManus. She passed away before the book was actually published, but her dear friend Tracy Sorrell finished it for her. It was a fascinating book, and I learned so much. I always love when I learn from a book.
That's amazing, yeah.
Okay, so the author was part of the Umpqua tribe, and the story itself is based on the history of her tribe. In the 1950s, the federal government passed a law that said their tribe was no more. So in spite of the fact that she has decades of families who have been living as Umpqua, and then she's 10 years old, she's known nothing but that, but overnight she finds that she's Indian No More, hence the title. And her father signs up for an Indian relocation project, and they end up in Los Angeles in the 1950s, right at the cusp of the civil rights era. And for the first time, our main character, Regina, faces, she meets people who are not Native American. She finds that she's the brunt of prejudice. She finds that she's experiencing some prejudices herself. And it's an interesting story about figuring out who you are. Are you Indian? Are you American? Are you both? After I read the book, I went and did some research because I was so fascinated. And the story of this particular tribe reclaiming their heritage is a fantastic story as well.
And so then what ages would you say would be a perfect age to read? 9,
10, 11, 12.
Awesome. So
and adults too, because I love this story.
Most definitely. And what book do we have next?
For teens, I have Elastsoe, which is written by a Lipan Apache author, and this one is set in an alternate America in which indigenous peoples and their magic is very much at play in the world. And so we have a main character who can summon ghosts, including the ghost of her pet dog that she's lost. But when her beloved cousin is killed, it looks like all signs point to an accident, but his ghost tells her otherwise. So it's up to Elastsoe to try to find the murderer and help bring him to justice. So it's a fascinating, slightly spooky story if you enjoy that as well.
It sounds like a good mystery. And then next up we have the adults.
We do. My favorite author ever on the planet, Louise Erdrich, is a Native American author. She's, I have to cheat because I have trouble saying Anishinaabe, so part of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. And this is her 18th book. I've loved every single one of them. This one was set in Minneapolis in, let's see, right at the time of COVID. So and it opens with a murder, or no, I'm sorry, it opens with a death. We have a dead body that ends up getting transported, probably not by the most legal means, and the main character ends up serving a rather hard sentence, and while she's incarcerated, she reads and reads and reads. Books are her salvation. And when she's out, she takes a job at a bookstore. And this particular bookstore has one customer that is so stubborn that even after her death, she refuses to leave the store. So we have a haunted bookstore. We have a year that most of us remember, that COVID year, as being extremely difficult as well. And so we have all of that coming together in an amazing story that's an homage to readers, an homage to bookstores, and just comments about the way we live. And such a beautiful book. I hug every book that I read. Erdrich. So good.
Well, we can really immerse ourselves in books and kind of, I guess, feel like we're there and just imagine the book so, in-depthly. And I could imagine that's probably what happens when reading these books. And especially when it comes to, Heritage Month, like American Indian Heritage Month, it's probably so important to read about different heritages that are out there.
It is. And for the longest time, there were so few books that were being published with Native American stories, and all of the ones that we had were historic. But it's important to remember that Indigenous peoples are still here, and to recognize their culture, to celebrate their stories. I love the fact that publishers are slowly coming around, and we're getting more and more books. Each of these have won various awards, so there's a nod to that quality of writing as well, but they're all just great stories.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for sharing this month's book club picks. If you want to go and check these out, they're just at the Cape Girardeau Public Library, so definitely head on over there and get yourself some good books for the month of November. We'll be right back.